We are honored to have the great Danny Seo, naturally Danny Seo, lifestyle expert, joining Not For Long Media. Danny, how you doing today?
I'm good, Colin. Don't be shy. Show copies of my magazine that you carry around with you.
Oh, sorry, I'm middle of recording. I don't want to get up, but
Okay.
yeah, Danny has a beautiful magazine that are scattered throughout our homes, and acquired a new magazine company, correct, in Rue.
Very good. Correct.
Tell us about Rue, Dan.
It was our first acquisition that we did last fall. I call it sort of a COVID opportunity, but it's probably one of the biggest digital platforms for design enthusiasts and decorators and designers in the home space, basically. And so we acquired it, and I just sort of put my little Midas touch on it. And we've got a brand new magazine, a new book coming out next spring with Random House, new products. It's been a lot of fun, sort of incubating and taking the reins of an existing brand that's 10 years old and just giving it a good polish.
And when you're talking about giving a good polish and making it pop and, put the Danny Seo touch on it, where do your eyes draw to first? Is it a cover? Is it the materials inside? Is it the branding of it? Is it the marketing?
No, it's the people who work on it. So for me, probably one of the most integral parts of looking at a brand like that is you have to think is like, why was it successful for so long? And nothing's ever really by chance. And so for me, there's a woman by the name of Kelly Lamb, who was the editor-in-chief for 7 years. And as part of the acquisition, I made it my first thing that I ever did was I made her a co-principal, or as a co-owner, promoted her to editorial director, but also just made her like an equal peer, financially, editorially, as a friend, so that in a way she could have more ownership and say, and really truly take on more responsibility, but also reap all the rewards when it is successful.
Well, we're seeing the rewards and the benefits of having you on, because we're celebrating a little bit today. 8 years Naturally Danny Seo came out today. You tweeted that. That's big news.
I know, time flies by. It was originally a concept that it was just a kind of just a random thought one morning. I thought on a Saturday, it's like, why not start a new magazine? And who knew that during those 8 years it would become a network television show on NBC. It's a line of products sold in thousands of stores. I think we have 3 books that have come out of the magazine, thousands of pages of editorial, but also, when you look at the statistics, the one that's most interesting is 1 million+ miles flown all over the world, visiting places and documenting and creating stories.
Wow.
So it's not just about the product and the business, but I think, for me, I think anything experiential. So, like as an NFL player, and anyone listening who might also be an NFL player, it's not just about the paycheck. There is something really magnificent about an experience that is unique and something you worked hard for and something you can actually appreciate at the same time too.
That's a great point. I think some days for me, I forget that we get paid, and we get paid a lot of money to do a kids game. It's so unique in that aspect, and to be able to work during COVID and bring people joy and bring people happiness when it was such a dark time, especially for this country. And we're on national TV and we're able to play games, and the NFL never missed a game, but also the joy, like for me, just trading jerseys with guys. And you see in our garage, like I love them. They're like my babies, the jerseys, because it's a mutual respect between your peers. And I'm getting off topic, but you're right. There's always something more to it than the paycheck. And you're in over 4,000 stores. Your product. Does it ever hit you like, wow, I'm in this Marshalls, I'm in this TJ Maxx, and there's my plates, and there's my magazine, and there are my cups?
Or birdhouses or planters or bedding, or there's more than just that. I mean, I think we've sold like 50 million units now worldwide, which is kind of nice. No, I don't, I separate myself, the person, from the brand. And I think it's really important for people to understand, is at the end of the day, it's like business is just business. It's not your identity. It's not who you are, but it's a fun thing. to sort of use to make a source of income and have a creative outlet for things that you're interested in. And so, if I go into a store just to see what's happening and how things are doing, I get more of a kick just going down the clearance aisle and seeing all of my items marked down significantly. Or I'll like, when we had our NBC show, for example, for 3 years on Saturday morning, it always was right before usually soccer, and soccer fans, they're diehard,
And
it's
this isn't
like,
just soccer. This is Premier League soccer, the
yeah,
number one
nearly,
league in the entire world. Everyone watches it in the entire world.
like they love it. And here's my show on at 11:30, and soccer starts at 12, but like maybe like online it's already started, like at 11 o'clock. And it's just fun to look at all these tweets where it's either a mix of like, who the hell is Danny Seo and why is soccer not on too? To like, a lot of people are writing things like, it's like, oh my gosh, I was going to be forced to watch soccer, and thankfully this show just came on. I'm actually enjoying it. So it's, I like getting a reaction from people versus praise or adoration or anything like that. I think that to me is more interesting in the process.
Yeah, it's admiration in a different way. It's in a respectful but fun and more probably organic. It seems I've got plenty of that over the years as well. Who the hell is Colin Thompson and why is he on this field right now? You talked about that.
Oh, you
And
read my tweet. Yeah.
yes, Dan, the real Dan's coming out on a little bit on the podcast. We appreciate it. And I'm sure everyone got a good laugh and probably didn't even notice it. And they'll have to rewind because that's Danny. He's quick. That NBC TV show you're talking about, that show won an Emmy.
It did, yeah. We also lost 3 Emmys. And
Who cares?
but
That's not like losing a Super Bowl. That's just like, hey, how many people were nominated?
I mean, I think there's hundreds of shows in the category or something. But trust me, it was an honor, and it feels fantastic to win. And it's something that it's nice to have a trophy. That's like from the Academy for daytime television, but it's not the reason you do a show like that. And I think what people don't realize is that when we created the show, I had a very specific idea about a look and feel for it that was a little bit more expensive to create. But I also was given this platform where I could create a show that would be on for 52 weeks, every single Saturday morning, watched by millions of people every Saturday, where the look and feel and the ideas as an executive producer were really, truly coming from me. And I wasn't being told, what to be. So the recognition that this idea that I had to do this show since I was like maybe 15 years old, would be recognized by my peers and actually win in a category that the likes of like a Martha Stewart have won. That meant more than the actual winning or the trophy of the woman. So
No, that's unbelievable. And yeah, maybe give us a deep dive for those that don't know your business. Obviously, lifestyle expert, but you're an entrepreneur. You have your hand in a little bit of everything. But take us into when you said, I had a real stake in what I was doing instead of, someone else's idea. They were my ideas, as a producer of the show. Is that like that for everybody, or, give us a deep dive into the business?
it's basically what I do. I consider myself a teacher. So, and people come to me to learn about healthy cooking, great design, travel tips, DIY, crafting, decorating, it's lifestyle. Basically anything that goes inside of a home. And anytime you want to leave the home, it's like, this is where we want to inspire and turn people from dreamers about living this way into actual doers. That's my goal as a teacher. But obviously it's not in a classroom. It's done in a multi-platform media company, whether it's directly on television, whether it's through products that we sell through our retailers, whether it's our new partnership with QVC, where we curate products and bring national brands and create this whole new collection around the idea of clean beauty, whether it's books and magazines also as well. So, but we're adding now, which is kind of crazy in a post-COVID world, and I will say that, are special events, actual live events that we're putting together for hundreds of people to come together to these summits and special things. But what I think, people always want to try to figure out is, it's like, how do you get to this point? And unfortunately, there is no blueprint to get there. And there was never a blueprint for, and I'm only naming bigger names so people understand, I'm not comparing myself whatsoever, but there's no blueprint that's say an Oprah or a Martha Stewart, or I'm trying to think of other like lifestyle people, like Gordon Ramsay, they have these big brands, you think they just got lucky, or someone found them, or they just did it. There's a lot of failure that you need to recognize as a valuable learning lesson along the way and why you failed. Because if you don't learn from that and if you choose to ignore it, you're masochistic and you're just going to continue to fail. But you also can't take it personally because it wasn't personal, at least you went for it. But at the same time, when you do succeed, you also can't take it personally and think you're God's gift to the world. It's like you can be happy for yourself and you can celebrate it, but that success is only going to last for a very short period of time if you let your guard down. So, but for me, the biggest lessons I can give people is that if you want to do something creative, or you're your own boss, and you want to create your own business, and you want to create product, and you want to do whatever is interesting to you, at the end of the day, your first priority can't be how much money am I going to make? Because you're never going to create a product or something that's going to be magnetic to other people to want to come to you and spend their hard-earned money and want to spend the time reading or looking or doing whatever you're making. What people are attracted to is the quality of the product. And so what I mean is, everything that we create, there's a lot of time, energy, and yes, money that goes into making sure that the finished product is the best quality that I can possibly do. And I always tell people, is there anything worse than getting an awful slice of pizza? It's like, but in a town like Cape May or wherever you go where there's lots of choices, you go, no, you always get pizza from this place, because that's a place that really took the time, and they didn't go in and say, how much money can I make selling pizza? They said, we were going to make the best pizza, and then people will come. And then the reward is that perhaps you are monetizing it to something that's beyond your expectations.
You talked about failures. You talked about accepting failure, using it as a tool for success. Dan, you're on your 12th birthday. You founded an organization, Earth 2000.
Mm-hmm.
A few years later, it was the largest teenage activist charity in the country.
Environmental activist charity.
12th birthday, on your 18th birthday, you guys were the largest.
Yeah,
talk us through that.
It grew very organically. I mean, my early years as a child activist, again, that's clearly not the motivation wasn't money at all. It was more about this belief that one person can really make a difference. And it was interesting because it was kind of pre-internet. Internet was not, a normal way of communication. You had access, but maybe people used it like twice a week, really. And so what I was able to really harness was this idea that like there were other teenagers around the country who felt like they could actually have a voice and do something very significant beyond just planting trees and picking up trash. So, we were doing things like lawyering up and filing lawsuits. We were to save, endangered forests, lobbying our elected officials for the passage of different types of legislation, whether it was for student rights, when it related to animal rights, or sustainability or the environment. And it took on the tone of a very serious organization. And we achieved a lot. But what I also realized is that, as I was building this organization, and this is what I want people to understand, is that you don't have to take on something like that, but you have to recognize what you're passively learning by accident. As a teenager, I was learning how to start a corporation, how to fundraise, how to create a marketing plan, how to get people's attention, how to manage my time to make sure that I was balancing school, family, activism, and everything else I needed to do, and how to do it where it was exciting and fulfilling at the same time too. And I realized, like today, because I didn't go to college, is all of that I was learning was probably the best 6 years of business school I could have given myself, because the one lesson I learned from creating a nonprofit from scratch and having to create a board of directors and file paperwork with the Internal Revenue Service and do all this like on my own was that you kind of learn how to be fearless. And that's something you can't teach someone, how to be fearless. Because I think we all have that inner voice in us where it's like, I don't know, I don't think I should take all of the, all of the work on this. I don't think it's a good idea. I'm going to fail. No one believes in me. And that voice gets louder and louder and louder. And so you just go, it's going to be easier just not to try. That's the easiest thing for people to do. But when you do something like that, because you're so motivated by the idea of wanting to make good in the world and change in the world, you learn to be fearless. And to this day, there are a million decisions I have to make every single day, and it's done without hesitation, and it's done with complete ownership of that idea and that decision. And I will own it if it works, and I will own it if it fails. But I don't, again, take it personally, because it's something that I at least owned and I understood and I believed in.
Wow, there's a lot to digest there. Fearlessness, ownership. Sounds like you're a part of our team meeting today that Coach Rule was conducting. And then and even for me, I have to do a lot of self-talk, a ton about the fear, the anxiety, mental health. Now we've such a discussed topic, which is fantastic, of how to get over the fears of certain things and how they're just a roadblock, and how now, like you said, it's become second nature in a way that it's just the things that used to scare me, obviously with practice or with opportunity, don't anymore. Something that would scare me though would being on the Oprah show. And that's something at a young age you were on. Tell the listeners how that came to fruition.
That was terrifying for me too. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm 19 years old on the Oprah show, but like, I didn't have a choice.
And you weren't a high school graduate at the time.
No, and I had published a book with Random House. They bought my kind of like an autobiography that I wrote when I was 18 about my years as a childhood activist. And the book wasn't selling well. And to be very blunt, like a naive statement is, you have to go on the Oprah show. She sells books. Everyone knows that. So, but it's impossible to get booked on the Oprah show. Like it's easier to get into Harvard, like back in the day when she had a daytime talk show. But obviously her influence was massive and is still very massive. But I made it my campaign as an activist. I was like, how hard could it be? So I wrote a letter on a postcard, like thinking like she doesn't have to open an envelope, as if she opens her own mail. And I thought she'll just turn over the postcard. And wrote, dear Oprah, you can challenge me to do anything for whatever charitable cause you believe in, and I will make it work. And put my name and phone number. And they called me and said, what do you mean by this? And so they challenged me to raise $30,000 in 30 days all by myself at the age of 19. Couldn't say the Oprah show, and it was for Habitat for Humanity. And I had to come up with ideas and ways that any person watching the show could replicate too. So I couldn't go find a rich donor and just ask for money. I had to really think outside the box. So for example, of the 10 ideas that I shared on the show, one of them was I figured out that any shopping mall that has a water fountain, for example, where you throw change into the fountain, they do have to clean it like every month, take the coins out, and then they say they donate to charity. Well, the problem is that a lot of charities wouldn't take the coins because there are these buckets of wet, slimy, dirty, coins that you'd have to hand clean and wrap because they wouldn't go through a machine that way. And I was able to figure out by calling the US Mint and just asking a lot of questions that there's a division called the mutilated coin division, where their sole purpose is to take on cases like that, where they would pick up the buckets wherever they are, because they're very heavy. They're hundreds of pounds each. I'm sure it's just a normal Panthers workout, so lug goes around. But they pick them up for you, they count them, sort it, and then you have a bank account where they'll just wire the money directly to you. And so what I realized is that I could share, like, this is what people can do in your community if you're lucky to find a mall or a place that has change. And I was able to raise like $3,500 just by making 2 phone calls. So I went on the show just to sort of talk to people about fundraising, where typically what I was seeing would be like teenagers like doing a car wash or people doing a bake sale or whatever. And the thing is, you put in all these resources with the unknown attached to it. And then you end up maybe making some money or a lot of money or no money. And I was trying to go in there and go, here's how you can make $3,500 for sure, if not more. And that led to obviously the book doing very well. And I got to write more books after that. And it was a nice platform to talk about charity and to inspire people, but at the same time, it made me realize something, that the power of TV had to really spark change with others. And that's where that little nugget got stuck in my head. Like, I have to figure out how to get on TV, not to be famous, but to just be able to reach more people.
You've reached millions, if not, and maybe the B word, billions, with your TV show, with your magazines, right? All the travels throughout the world that you've done. You said over 1 million miles you and your team have done in traveling and building this magazine and building actually Danny Seo that's been around now for 8 years. Is there a place that you've enjoyed to visit the most over the years? Are there a few, and then maybe some experiences you've had in those places that make it so wonderful?
Yeah, and I won't be cheesy and say, home, because that's like whatever. But I mean, I'll say personally, I like the unknown. And I know a lot of people don't like the unknown, or I like feeling not so safe, or I feel like I'm really like standing out as a place I'm not supposed to be. So like, I would say there are moments in India that were fantastic, whether it was Mumbai, and it was very crowded and intense, and all your senses are just on fire from the heat and the smell and the noise and all of that stuff, to being on a fishing boat in Japan, and you're out in the middle of the water and you're harvesting seaweed and learning about like how that all happens, to in Africa, I was going through Soweto, and there was an animal medicinal market where it was illegal, and there were hides and horns and bones, and it was all for like witchcraft and for medicine and everything. And there was a moment where I probably would have been shot dead if I actually took a photo. But fortunately, someone was able to give me a heads up, maybe put my phone away. But I wasn't documenting it, as a way to like, to stop it. I was just sort of mesmerized by the visual appearance of something that I've just never seen before. But I think the number one thing, actually now I know what it is, because my job is to produce also, is we shot the Taj Mahal, one of the wonders of the world, for the magazine. And I was able to arrange to be at the Taj Mahal for 20 minutes before it opened to the public, which is so much negotiation to get that to happen. And so for 20 minutes, I have my photographer, myself, we get there before there's all these people outside trying to get in. We get in, we run in, and then this photographer I'm with, he is just frantic. He's just like, okay, I got to get this. And I just look at him, I go, you're going to kill me right now, but we're going to spend the next minute, and we're not going to work. We're going to just stare at it as like two people who are at the Taj Mahal. I'm very fortunate to have this opportunity, and just let it soak in that you are completely alone in one of the greatest things in the world. And we get to just have it around us, where this never happens for anyone. And just like that, the stray dog walks in, sits down in front of us, is staring at the building, and then we take the shot, and that's what we used. Because it's one of the most beautiful photos we've ever taken. You should go, Colin. Go to the Taj Mahal.
Let's go together. That's I need the access that Danny Seo has.
I don't know if I can get that again, but
I need another 8 more years of naturally Danny Seo to make that happen on NBC. All right, so I was going to say advice to entrepreneurs. You've already hit on that a million different times. It sounds like be bold, fearlessness, take chances, live in the moment, right? That's what you just hit the nail on, in my opinion. You know what? We're going to take a deep breath and look this in. I couldn't tell you how many times I step on the football field and say thank you and look around and see that you're in the 1% of the 1% of the 1%. And I'm not talking because of opportunity or wealth or whatever that may be. I'm talking you are doing something that a very small amount of people have done. You just reference that. Go ahead, Dan.
But I also believe that every person is in the 1% of the 1%, depending on what you're passionate about and what you do, and there's also people in your inner circle who look at you and just think you're, you know, a rock star. You know, it could be a child, it could be someone you've influenced, it could be someone, a teacher who's really, you know, inspired other people. So I don't want people to think it has to be on an NFL field, has to be on a TV show, it has to be something like that. But I think the most important thing people need to understand is, my mantra is, it's not about you, it's about them. And I think that applies really well for you, where you're on a football field and you're on a team and you have one objective, and you're not thinking, what am I getting out of this? How do I stand out? How do I get everyone's attention? How do I, you know, have my, you know, moment where they're cheering my name? And at the end of the day, it's not even about the team. It's really about the fans and what they're getting out of it. And that is such an important thing to learn, because whatever I'm creating, it's always about like, what is she? I always think, what is she going to learn from this? And I think that's something that if anyone is ever going to create anything, a small business, write a book, whatever, you have to have that in your mindset, is that you're just a vessel to get facts and figures and creativity through to a finished product.
Love it. Naturally, Danny Seo, just dropping wisdom bombs all over Not For Long Media, which we love. And it's been fantastic so far. I have a few more questions and we'll wrap things up. Well, what are you up to now, Dan? I know you're in so many different things. I don't want to speak for anything that doesn't exist anymore that you're not doing, because I can't keep track of all of it. So what are you up to now?
I mean, QVC is a new partnership. I've always been fascinated by television shopping, and as we're pivoting towards, obviously, this isn't like groundbreaking news, towards digital, you know, e-commerce. I just saw a huge customer base, or an audience, where I could really help them understand the importance of clean products for personal care. So, you know, skincare products, sunscreen, all those kinds of things. So that's been an interesting experience, because I'm also out of my comfort zone, where I'm now creating digital content. And, you know, I'm used to having someone do the sound, the lighting, the camera, the prepping, the propping, the producing. Like, there's usually a team. Like, our show takes about 80 people to create a show. And then I'm like, oh, it's just me. Or like maybe someone else could be helping. So that's kind of new, but
You've done some stuff with Drew Barrymore lately as well.
Drew is great, but like, you know, she's got a daytime talk show, so that's what I miss, is like having a crew. So it's nice to like actually just show up on set and like and do things together. And we have just the best time. So we're cooking and doing great giveaways, and I'm excited about her second season, because there'll be a live audience. It's hard to be enthusiastic and happy in a studio with no audience. It's very hard. It's like, well, I guess you would know having no one.
That's a great question. Yeah. We played the Las Vegas Raiders, our first game. I was inactive. I was on the sideline on the roster, but was not dressed for the game. Football stat, 53 players are active on the roster technically, and then 46 dress on game day. So we go out against the Raiders, and literally there is nobody in the stands. And it was fun to talk about during training camp. It was fun to talk about during the preseason last year, or the lack thereof. But until there's nobody there and the lights go bright, the lights are the same brightness, right? I'm sure the lights for you are the same brightness, but there's no emotion. There's no feedback. It was a new game. It was a new version. Momentum wasn't the same. And I'm sure you guys get that momentum and that high and that adrenaline of a crowd being there. It was very unique.
It's weird. It's totally weird not to have an audience. That's
Definitely
the only way to describe it. Especially when I did a giveaway show on my birthday. And I'm giving away like diamonds and gift certificates and, you know, all these crazy things. And normally with an audience they're like crying or screaming, and they're so happy. And that's what I love, is that this spontaneous joy. And then suddenly you just see a wall of people zooming in from home with their sound off, just going, it's weird.
And you know what? I give everyone credit, because you know what? They would love to be in that seat in front of you guys too, but people are still smiling. You're still giving love and spreading joy. And, you know, that's such a cool thing. What we'll do at Not For Long Media is we will pay for 3 subscriptions to Danny's magazine. or let's say 5. Let's just make it 5. We're going to pay for a,
Oh,
yeah. Hey, not for long media. We're going to pay for 5 subscriptions. So when we post the Danny Seo uh, podcast, we always post on our Instagram, but just tag me, Colin Thompson, 86, at Danny Seo or at Danny Seo Mag, one or the other. You'll find Danny. You can't miss him on Instagram. He's got the blue check mark. And just tag us and say I'd love a free subscription to Danny Seo, and I'll take care of it. Not for long media. We'll get you subscribed and get you following what Danny's doing, because it's unreal stuff. Lifetime, I mean, lifestyle expert, but I've learned a bunch of new healthy recipes from Dan. So maybe I'll be running a little faster on the field this year. Lord knows I need it, and getting a little bit bigger and a little bit stronger. So, anything for us, Dan, before we go? How about this? Can you please, the funny joke in our family, and Dan's been a part of our family now for a couple of years. We are so lucky to have him. Is, I'll never forget this. We're sitting out, we're on a balcony, we're hanging out, and someone screams upstairs and says, "Is that Danny Seo up there?"
it's you know what, it's always nice to meet a fan.
Yep. And it was unique though, because we were so far away, and it was Dan. It is Danny, and they asked for something. Tell me something, and it hit me on the head. I'm like, wow, man, Dan's no different than a pro athlete or whatever. Like, do a trick for me, do whatever. And what was the thing you said, Dan? Give us the pizza recipe that we use on the green egg and that we love. Shout out the green egg, by the way. Unbelievable product that we love to use here at Not for Long Media.
Hashtag not an ad.
Hashtag not an ad, but no free ads, but free ads.
It's my yogurt dough pizza. 2 parts Greek style yogurt, 1 part self-rising flour. You mix it together. You have instant pizza dough that's protein rich, calcium, and perfect to use on the barbecue, in the oven, or at the air fryer. I've just discovered it's great in that too.
Wow, that's a big time. It's a big time recipe, folks. It's simple. It is so easy, and it is so freaking good. And people think you're crazy. I'm telling you, it's crispy. It tastes the same than regular pizza dough, and it's just as healthy, obviously healthier.
I know your family's a huge fan of it.
Huge fan. So naturally, Danny Seo, 8 years, man. Congratulations. And thank you so much.
Colin Thompson.
Always unorganically Colin Thompson.
That's their spinoff publication. Always Colin Thompson.
That's right. Always Colin Thompson is right. Danny, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time.
Thanks, Colin. Good luck to training, and let's go Panthers. Keep on pounding.
Keep pounding. Thanks, Dan. Have a good day, man.
Bye, Colin.